You're welcome back to Politics HQ News Central Television. Now, following evidence obtained over the certificate saga concerning President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the runner-up of the presidential election, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is set to file a fresh case at the Supreme Court. Atiku's case at the United States Court led to new controversies surrounding the veracity of the certificate President Tinubu submitted to INEC. Having lost at the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, Alhaji Atiku is taking fresh steps to further battle INEC's declaration of Tinubu as president. There are crucial days ahead for the former vice president and the incumbent who's set to defend his mandate. Now, joining me tonight on the program is Phrank Shuaibu, Special Assistant on Public Communications to the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. Warm welcome to you, Mr. Shuaibu, and thanks for joining us in Politics HQ.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Now, Mr. Shuaibu, what specific pieces or piece of fresh evidence is your principal, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, seeking to introduce in the case against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and how pivotal are these pieces of evidence in shaping the outcome of this case that is at the Supreme Court?
Well, thank you very much. First off, let me correct an impression. We didn't file a new case. What we filed is called a motion to introduce the new evidence that we just got based on the deposition by the registrar of the Chicago State University, Caleb Westbeck, of which he did under oath. Now, interestingly, the evidence we seek to bring before the Supreme Court, the esteemed justices of the Supreme Court, is the fact that Mr. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, or Bola A. Tinubu, as he is called, on the certificate which presented to INEC, or Bola Adekunle Tinubu, which is his new style, the one they just added to his litany of names, is the fact that he forged the certificate he presented to INEC. No more, no less. We are not interested in whether he was admitted to Chicago State University as first off as a woman and later transmuted into a man. That's not our interest. Our interest is not whether he attended Chicago State University, as we have heard some of the media aides to the president who have come out openly to do what they call a deliberate pushback on the narrative. You see, but we will tell you that even when some media houses even assist them, to slant the story, particularly their owned media houses, just in a way to corrupt the interpretation of what the facts at the deposition are, we remain on the narrative. The truth of the matter is that in Bola A. Tinubu, the certificate presented, which they claimed belongs to Bola A. Tinubu, is a forged document. And we have evidence to prove that before the
But Mr. Phrank Shuaibu, if I may come in here, you and I know that it's the court that will decide at the end of the day if the certificate is forged or not. The court is the final arbiter of this case. But let's delve deeper into the potential legal ramifications for President Tinubu if it can be conclusively proven by a court of competent jurisdiction that he submitted forged documents to INEC for his presidential qualification. What penalties or sanctions might he face?
Hold on. I am not speaking to the case at the Supreme Court. I am speaking, you asked me a specific question, bordering on the evidence we have, which we are taking to the Supreme Court. Now, what I'm speaking to is that document. That is the document we put before the court. We tested at the courts in the United States of America. And a deposition was made specifically on page 26 of the deposition, which is a publicly available document, where the registrar of the Chicago State University, Caleb Westbeck, under oath, was asked a simple question. Chicago State University has determined that it does not have a true and correct copy of the diploma issued to Bola A. Tinubu in 1979. Is that correct? To which the registrar responded, that is correct. And if you go further to page 27 of that deposition, a similar question was put again to Mr. Westbeck. So Chicago State University, after going through every diploma, was unable to find an authentic copy of any diploma that Chicago State University issued to Mr. Tinubu in 1979. Is that correct? And the registrar responded in the affirmative. He said it is correct. So the issue is, I am not in any way, taking a look at what is before the justice of the Supreme Court. We can boldly and confidently call this document, which is submitted to INEC, as a forged document, as a product of forgery, based on the fact that it has been tested by a court of competent jurisdiction. You recall very vividly that this same man fought tooth and nail to prevent the release of this document. In fact, his lawyers cried, pleaded, grovelled even before the justices at the level of the courts in America, and said that it will cause irreparable damage if these documents were released to Atiku Abubakar. Now, eventually, the courts in America, unlike what happens in other crimes, I'm not saying Nigeria, went ahead to hold that, look, whatever irreparable damage is going to cost you, it is not more than the interest of over 200 million Nigerians. Because, like the judge even said in her ruling, she said, look, I have received preponderance of mails from interested Nigerians, thousands of mails. So because of that interest, I am going to give judgment based on the law and not based on any emotions anybody is pleading here. And that was why those documents were released, and they forced their hands to release it. He tried multiple times to block it. If there was nothing to hide, why would you block it? Atiku Abubakar did not send Bola Ahmed Tinubu to the United States of America to go and study. So we are not interested if he went there to study or he went there to sell Ewa and Gabriel. That is not the issue. The issue in contest is that the document he submitted to INEC, which he called his certificate, the only document he submitted, the deposition came to an unambiguous conclusion that that document is not only forged, but is not a product of that university he claimed.
Now, Mr. Phrank Shuaibu, if I may comment at this point, your principal has decided to present this new evidence before the Supreme Court. What are the intricate legal hurdles or complexities that Alhaji Atiku Abubakar's legal team must overcome to successfully argue their case before the Supreme Court?
Well, I am not a lawyer, but I'll tell you for free that, you see, there are precedences. We have decided that our lawyers have relied on decided authorities before filing this case. They have looked at their books. And I said, look, this case is a purely constitutional matter. There is a breach of the constitution of the land. The constitution is clear and unambiguous that the person who is qualified to contest for the highest office in the land, the constitution didn't say must have a degree. No. But if for any reason the person submits a forged document, we didn't say forged result, a forged document, that person shall be disqualified. If you remember, the first Senate president in the First Republic in 1999, His Excellency, may his soul rest in peace, Evans Ewerem, an Igbo man from the southeastern Nigeria, was removed as president of the Senate because of a simple letter of the alphabet called letter S. Just letter S. One tiny letter, S. His certificate read Evan Ewerem. Evan Ewerem. And because his friends love calling him Evans, Evans the boy, Evans my guy. So each time he was now filling forms or writing anything, he now decided to add S. Now he added letter S to his name. And because of that anomaly, it was posited to have become a product of forgery because his original names in his documents were Evan Ewerem and not Evans Ewerem. And that was how he was removed. And he was a man from the southeast. Now we are talking of a man who is from a region, a part of Nigeria that is populated with over 40 million Yoruba people across the globe. We are talking of a region in Nigeria that has almost the highest number of not just educated but certificated men in Nigeria. Now, a man wakes up in his documentation as released, if not for anything. Why should any normal person even wait for the Supreme Court to take a decision before you take a bar? In the documents he submitted to the Chicago State University, which was released based on the order of the court, our dear brother and your President Bola Ahmed Tinubu claimed he attended and graduated from Government College Lagos in 1970. Anticipatorily, it was a spiritual attendance because that school was established in 1974. What else do we need? We're talking of somebody who has perennially and habitually been involved in high-level forgery.
I mean, Mr. Phrank Shuaibu, you're national TV, and this could be considered libellous because you don't have evidence to prove those things you just said. Now, considering the highly charged political environment in Nigeria as we speak, how might this case impact the nation's political stability? We do know that no court has ever overturned the results of a presidential election. What are the political consequences for public's trust in the political system with regards to this case?
Heavens will not fall if this is the first time a presidential election will be overturned. The heavens will not fall. Instead, the heavens will even stand still and will be at peace. That is the consequence. The consequence is that if the Supreme Court finds the document, the deposition has entered into under oath by the registrar of the university as not just cogent, and it is admitted, it becomes a clear issue. There was a discovery. You understand me? There was a discovery. Because this man, we're talking of a man who has a history of forgery and perjury. Let me give you an example, so that you don't talk about maybe using certain terms because of an overheated policy. The system is heated already. Who heated the policy? He heated the policy. I remember in 1999, in his Form CF001, he filled ahead of his governorship election in 1999. He claimed that he attended St. John's Primary School, Aroyola. He claimed he attended Government College Ibadan. He claimed he attended University of Chicago, and then Chicago State University. He said University of Chicago, he had BSc Economics. When Chief Gani Fahimi of blessed memory took him to court, he recapitulated and said that, and in fact, he laid the blame on Tokunbo Asikuyomi, distinguished senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that he was the one who filled out the forms for him. How can you aspire to the office of governor of a state? Your form is being filled by a political associate, and you never took time to take a look at that. Tokunbo Asikuyomi was a younger person to Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So Tokunbo couldn't have just filled a form without asking questions from the owner of the form. You see, these are things that have been there.
Now, Mr. Phrank Shuaibu, as we begin to wrap up on this conversation, what implications does this case have for the image of the Nigerian judiciary and its ability to uphold the rule of law in the face of this very, very high-stake political dispute?
The position is clear and unambiguous. The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is supreme. And there is no human being, including the esteemed justices of the Supreme Court, who is bigger than the Constitution. And we expect that they will use their microscopic and telescopic eyes to look at these issues dispassionately. They should not be swayed by the immoral power, by the use of immoral power by those in authority who are bent on hanging on the tree. They should take a decision that will not just enhance our jurisprudence, but will elevate the image of Nigerians anywhere they are in the world. The idea is simple. How would we feel? How will the justices of the Supreme Court feel if anytime they travel to anywhere in the world, and they say, oh, where are you from? Maybe for a conference. And they say from Nigeria. I say, oh, are you from the country where your president is alleged? Since you say we should be cautious about the terms we use, is alleged to afford this certificate? How would you feel? You will feel like a second-rate citizen. And that is why they have to dispassionately deal with this matter in the interest of this generation and generations yet unborn. Because failure to do so, it will lead to this generation and generations yet unborn to become frustrated in future. And such a situation will not just breed insecurity, it will breed inadequacy, coupled with lack of self-confidence, poor image perception, and an unhealthy identification.
For your time, Mr. Phrank Shuaibu. It was a pleasure having you join us to share your insights and your contribution to the program. We look forward to engaging you in the nearest future. Thank you.
God bless you. Thank you, brother.
Now it's time for us to give you something to chew on after this quick timeout.